He released her, storming out of the room. Clara sank to the floor, trembling. Her phone lit up. A new message from Lucas. We need to talk. Meet me tomorrow. 8 p.m. The old pier. Clara closed her eyes. Every choice led to ruin. But the truth was already clawing its way out. Before we start, thank you for coming to my channel. Your participation is my happiness. Let me know where you are and what time it is now. Okay, now let's get into the story. The rain lashed against the penthouse windows, each droplet a sharp reminder of the silence that had settled between Clara and Daniel. At 35, Clara had imagined her life differently, vibrant, passionate, alive. Instead, she found herself suffocating in a marriage that felt more like a business arrangement. Daniel, ever the workaholic lawyer, had just left for another urgent conference in Dubai, his 5th this year. Clara didn't bother asking when he'd return. She already knew the answer. When the firm no longer needs me. Alone again, she wandered the sleek, sterile rooms of their high-rise apartment, her camera dangling and used around her neck. Photography had once been her escape, but lately, even the lens felt like a cage. That's when the doorbell rang. Lucas stood in the hallway, drenched from the storm, his leather jacket clinging to his broad shoulders. At 22, he carried himself with a restless energy, his piercing green eyes, so unlike Daniel's, locking onto hers. "Dad's not here, is he?" he asked, raking a hand through his damp hair. Clara shook her head, stepping aside to let him in. They'd never been close. Lucas had resented Daniel for abandoning his mother years ago, and Clara had always been the replacement. A title she'd accepted with quiet resignation. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the storm, or the way Lucas's gaze lingered a beat too long as she handed him a towel. "You look different," he said, his voice low. Clara froze, her fingers brushing his as he took the towel. A spark flickered between them, sharp and electric. She pulled her hand back, blaming the static from the storm. "I'll make coffee," she muttered, fleeing to the kitchen. The lights flickered as thunder boomed overhead. The penthouse plunged into darkness. Clara gasped, fumbling for her phone's flashlight. Lucas appeared in the doorway, his silhouette outlined by the city's distant glow. "Need help?" Their hands collided in the dark as they reached for the same cabinet. Clara's breath hitched. His fingers grazed her wrist, warm and steady. "I've got it," he said, but didn't move. The air thickened, charged with something dangerous. A flash of lightning illuminated the room, and the way Lucas was staring at her lips. The lights surged back on. Clara stumbled backward, her pulse roaring. Lucas cleared his throat, his jaw tight. "I should go." But neither of them moved. The storm raged outside, but the silence inside the penthouse was louder. Clara clutched the edge of the kitchen counter, her knuckles white, as Lucas lingered in the doorway. His gaze burned into her, unreadable yet undeniable. "This is madness," she told herself. "He's your stepson. Daniel's son." But the memory of his touch lingered, a ghost on her skin. "I'll get the candles," she stammered, turning away. Her hands trembled as she rummaged through drawers, the clatter of objects masking the pounding of her heart. Lucas didn't move. She could feel him watching her, his presence a magnet pulling at every frayed nerve. "Why are you afraid?" His voice cut through the silence, softer than she expected. Clara froze. "I'm not." "Liar." The word hung in the air, sharp and intimate. She turned slowly, meeting his eyes. There was no mockery there, only a raw curiosity that terrified her. "You don't know me, Lucas," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Maybe I want to." He took a step forward, his boots echoing on the marble floor. "You think I haven't noticed? The way you disappear into yourself when he's here. The way you flinch when he speaks." Clara's breath caught. How dare he? Yet the truth in his words sliced through her defenses. She opened her mouth to protest, but the sound of a key turning in the front door froze them both. Daniel's voice boomed from the foyer. "Clara? The flight was cancelled. What the hell is he doing here?" Lucas stiffened, his expression hardening into the familiar mask of resentment. Clara's stomach dropped. Daniel stood in the doorway, his suit rumpled, eyes flickering between her and Lucas with cold suspicion. "I came to borrow a book," Lucas said flatly, crossing his arms. "Didn't realize I needed permission." Daniel's jaw tightened. "You don't." But you do need to leave. The dismissal hung in the air like a threat. Lucas smirked, a bitter edge to his voice. Wouldn't want to interrupt your perfect evening. He brushed past Clara, his shoulder grazing hers, a touch too deliberate, before slamming the door behind him. Daniel turned to Clara, his gaze sharp. What was that about? Nothing, she said too quickly. He was just here. Daniel studied her, his silence more accusing than words. Then, without warning, he reached for her, his fingers brushing her cheek. Clara recoiled instinctively, the gesture feeling foreign after months of indifference. Daniel's hand dropped. You've been distant, he muttered, turning away. We'll talk tomorrow. Alone again, Clara sank onto the couch, her mind racing. Guilt clawed at her throat, but beneath it simmered something darker. Anger. Anger at Daniel's neglect. Anger at herself for craving warmth from the one person she couldn't have. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You can't hide forever. L. The screen blurred as her vision swam. Outside, the storm faded, but the tempest inside Clara had only just begun. Clara stared at the text, the single letter L glowing ominously on her screen. Her throat tightened as she typed a reply, then deleted it. What does he want? The question gnawed at her, but deeper still. What do I want? Sleep eluded her. When dawn broke, gray and heavy with unspent rain, Daniel was already gone. Back to the office, back to the life that excluded her. Clara dressed mechanically, her camera slung over her shoulder like armor. She needed air. The city streets buzzed with oblivious energy. Clara wandered aimlessly, her lens capturing fractured moments. A couple arguing over coffee, a child chasing pigeons, an old man feeding strays. Normalcy. She envied it. Her phone vibrated. Another unknown number, this time with a location pin. The Riverside Gallery. Noon. L. Clara's pulse quickened. She shouldn't go. But the part of her that craved answers, that ached for the danger Lucas represented, won out. The gallery was quiet, its white walls adorned with abstract paintings that screamed chaos. Lucas stood in front of a canvas splattered in red and black, his hands shoved into the pockets of his leather jacket. He turned as she approached, his smirk edged with defiance. Knew you'd come. Why are you doing this? Clara hissed, keeping her distance. Lucas stepped closer, his voice dropping. Because you're lying to yourself. To him. To me. He gestured at the painting behind him. You're like this, all sharp edges and buried fire. But you're letting him smother it. Clara's chest heaved. You don't know anything about my life. I know you're terrified. His gaze locked onto hers, unflinching. Of him. Of me. Of what happens if you finally feel something. The air between them crackled. Clara's resolve wavered, but a voice interrupted them. Lucas? What are you? A young woman with a shock of pink hair and a camera slung around her neck froze mid-sentence. Maya, Clara realized, Lucas's ex-girlfriend and fellow art student. Her eyes narrowed as they flicked between Lucas and Clara. Maya, Lucas said tightly. This isn't a good time. Maya crossed her arms, her smile sharp. Oh, I think it's exactly the right time. She turned to Clara, tilting her head. You're Daniel's wife, aren't you? Funny. Lucas never mentioned you two were close. Clara's blood ran cold. Maya's tone dripped with implication. Lucas stepped between them, his voice a warning. Drop it, Maya. Or what? She challenged. You'll run back to Daddy's money? Or maybe she will. Clara turned on her heel, fleeing the gallery before the threat could fully sink in. Behind her, Lucas called her name, but she didn't look back. That night, Daniel arrived home early. Clara sat at the piano, her fingers hovering over keys she never played. Where were you today? He asked, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. Out. Taking photos. Daniel leaned against the doorway, loosening his tie. Funny. My assistant saw you at the Riverside Gallery. Clara's heart stopped. I wanted to see the new exhibit. With Lucas. The name cracked like a whip. She stood abruptly, the piano bench screeching. Are you having me followed? Daniel's smile was ice. Just protecting my interests. He stepped closer, his voice lowering. You think I don't see it? The way you look at him. The way he looks at you. Clara's breath hitched. Nothing happened. Yet, Daniel spat. He grabbed her wrist, his grip bruising. You forget I'm a lawyer. I know how to bury secrets. And people. He released her, storming out of the room. Clara sank to the floor, trembling. Her phone lit up. A new message from Lucas. We need to talk. Meet me tomorrow. 8 p.m. The old pier. Clara closed her eyes. Every choice led to ruin. But the truth was already clawing its way out. Thank you for listening to the story so far. Your encouragement means a lot to me. Please comment and share your thoughts here. I love you and I am so grateful to have you on this journey with me to explore the story further. Clara stood at the edge of the old pier, the salt-stained wood creaking beneath her boots. The sun had dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and golds. She'd spent all day rehearsing lies, but now, under the weight of the crashing waves, every excuse dissolved. Lucas leaned against a rusted railing, his silhouette sharp against the fading light. You came, he said, not turning around. I shouldn't have, Clara replied, her voice swallowed by the wind. He faced her then, his expression unguarded. But you did. The space between them hummed with unsaid words. Clara tightened her coat around herself, a futile shield. This ends now. Whatever this is. Lucas laughed bitterly. You don't get to call it nothing after the way you looked at me in that gallery. Clara's composure cracked. You have no idea what you're asking me to risk. Risk? He stepped closer, his eyes blazing. You're already drowning, Clara. At least I'm offering you a lifeline. She shook her head, backing away. A lifeline? Or a noose? Before Lucas could reply, a camera shutter clicked. They froze. Maya emerged from the shadows, her pink hair catching the last rays of sunlight. Cute, she drawled, waving her phone. Bet Daniel would love this little reunion. Lucas lunged forward, but Clara grabbed his arm. Don't, she pleaded. Maya smirked. Relax. I'm not here to play villain. Yet. She pocketed her phone. But if you two keep acting like idiots, someone else will notice. And trust me, I'm the least of your problems. She vanished into the dusk, leaving Clara's hands trembling. Lucas turned to her, his voice urgent. She's right. Daniel's not stupid. He's already. Clara. The voice cut through the air like a blade. Daniel stood at the foot of the pier, his tailored coat flapping in the wind. His face was a mask of calm fury. Lucas stiffened. Dad. Daniel ignored him, his gaze fixed on Clara. Get in the car. Now. Or what? Lucas challenged, stepping between them. You'll sue her? Threaten her? That's all you know how to do. Daniel's laugh was glacial. Careful, Lucas. You're still on my payroll. He turned to Clara, his tone softening dangerously. Choose. Him or me. The words hung in the air, final and suffocating. Clara met Lucas's eyes, wild, hopeful, and then Daniel's, cold, certain. I need time, she whispered. Daniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. You have until morning. As he strode away, Lucas gripped Clara's arm. Don't let him control you. She pulled free, tears blurring her vision. You don't understand what he's capable of. Back at the penthouse, Clara found her studio ransacked. Her camera lay shattered on the floor, memory card missing. Daniel stood in the doorway, holding a glass of bourbon. You're a terrible liar, he said, swirling the amber liquid. But you're an excellent photographer. He tossed a stack of printed photos onto the bed, shots of Lucas, raw and intimate, taken during the storm. Clara's blood turned to ice. You had no right. No right. Daniel slammed the glass down. You're my wife. Everything you are belongs to me. He leaned in, his breath sour with whiskey. Break it off with him. Or I'll destroy you both. The penthouse felt like a gilded cage. Clara stared at the shattered remains of her camera, Daniel's threat echoing in her skull. Destroy you both. She knelt, picking up a shard of glass, a jagged reflection of her fractured resolve. Daniel had left for the office, but not before tossing her a final ultimatum. My lawyer will draft the divorce papers by noon. Unless you fix this. Clara's hands trembled as she dialed Lucas. He answered on the first ring. Clara? What's wrong? Meet me at the storage unit. The one your dad doesn't know about. Her voice was steel. Bring a burner phone. The unit, tucked in a decaying part of the city, held boxes of her old work, photos Daniel had deemed unmarketable. Clara sifted through them until she found it. A folder labeled Hartley vs. Hartley. Years ago, she documented Daniel's shady deals, his whispered calls, his real self. Insurance. Lucas arrived, his face pale. What's going on? Clara thrust the folder at him. Your father's secrets. Enough to ruin him. Lucas flipped through the photos. Grainy shots of Daniel meeting shadowy figures. Documents stamped confidential. Why didn't you use these before? Because I was afraid, Clara admitted. But he crossed a line. Lucas's eyes darkened. What's the plan? We leak them. Tonight. But first, her phone buzzed. A text from Maya. Check your email. Now. Clara's stomach dropped. The attachment loaded. A video of her and Lucas at the pier. Their heated exchange crystal clear. Maya's message followed. $500,000 or this goes viral. You have 12 hours. Lucas cursed. She's bluffing. Is she? Clara's mind raced. Daniel's already on edge. If he sees this, then we move faster. Lucas gripped her shoulders. We leak the photos, expose him, and disappear. Together. Clara hesitated. Together. The word felt foreign, dangerous. But Lucas's gaze held a recklessness that mirrored her own desperation. They worked in silence, scanning evidence onto a flash drive. At midnight, Clara uploaded everything to a secure server, her finger hovering over send. The apartment door slammed open. Daniel stood in the doorway, his tie askew, eyes bloodshot. You really thought I wouldn't track you? He held up his phone, a live feed of the storage unit. He'd bugged her car. Lucas stepped forward. It's over, Dad. We have proof. Daniel laughed, cold and unhinged. Proof. He tossed a USB drive at Clara's feet. Look. She plugged it in. The screen filled with footage of Lucas, late-night parties, drug deals, a fistfight outside a bar. Daniel had been watching him too. One click, Daniel said, and Lucas goes to jail. Or, he turned to Clara. You delete your little folder and come home. Lucas lunged, but Clara caught his arm. Don't. Daniel smirked. Tick-tock, Clara. Her phone buzzed again. Maya. 6 hours left. Clara closed her eyes. Every path led to ruin. But in the ashes, maybe freedom waited. She met Lucas's gaze, a silent plea, and hit send. Daniel's face twisted. You bitch. Sirens wailed in the distance. Lucas grabbed Clara's hand. Run. The sirens grew louder as Clara and Lucas sprinted through the labyrinth of alleyways, their breaths ragged. Rain poured down, masking their footsteps but chilling them to the bone. Clara clutched the flash drive like a lifeline, while Lucas kept glancing back, his jaw set in defiance. We need to ditch the city, he shouted over the storm. I know someone who can help. Who? Clara demanded, skidding around a corner. A friend from college. She's off-grid, no ties to Dad. Clara hesitated but nodded. Trusting Lucas felt like stepping off a cliff, but the ground had already crumbled beneath her. Daniel's penthouse erupted into chaos. Police swarmed the lobby, seizing files and servers. From his blacked-out SUV parked a block away, Daniel watched through tinted windows, his phone pressed to his ear. Find them. Now. On the other end, his private investigator hesitated. Sir, the evidence is already public. The DS office is. I don't care. Daniel snarled. I'll burn every bridge in this city before I let that traitorous witch win. He hung up, dialing another number. Maya. We need to talk. Clara and Lucas reached an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, its walls graffitied and crumbling. Lucas's contact, a wiry tech genius named Jessa, greeted them with a hacker's glare. You've got 12 hours before they trace you here. What's the play? Clara handed her the flash drive. Can you make this go viral? Every news outlet, every social platform. Jessa smirked. Child's play. As she worked, Lucas pulled Clara aside. What happens after this? I don't know, Clara admitted. But I'm done living in his shadow. Lucas's hand brushed hers. For what it's worth. I'm glad you chose truth. Before she could respond, her burner phone rang. Maya. Clara answered, her voice steady. What do you want? A trade, Maya purred. The video of you two for the $500,000. Or I send it to the cops and the press. Lucas snatched the phone. You're bluffing. Am I? Maya's laughter was venomous. Check your inbox. A new video loaded. Security footage of Daniel handing Maya a briefcase days earlier. Make sure my son and his friends stay in line, Daniel's voice growled. Clara's blood ran cold. You've been working with him this whole time. Business is business, Maya said. Tick-tock. Daniel arrived at the warehouse an hour later, flanked by two men in suits. Clara stood her ground, Lucas at her side. Last chance, Daniel said, his voice eerily calm. Retract the evidence. Come home. Or I bury you both. Clara stepped forward, rain soaking her hair. You don't own me anymore. Daniel's composure cracked. You think you've won? I built this city. I'll tear it down before I let you. Blue lights flooded the lot. Police cars screeched to a halt, officers shouting orders. Jessa grinned from the warehouse door. Viral's trending, folks. Daniel turned to flee, but an officer tackled him mid-stride. Daniel Hartley, you're under arrest. Clara watched, numb, as they hauled him away. Lucas squeezed her hand. It's over. But Maya's voice echoed in Clara's mind. Business is business. The police lights faded, leaving Clara and Lucas in the rain-soaked silence of the warehouse parking lot. Daniel's arrest played on loop in Clara's mind. His rage, his downfall. But Maya's threat still hung over them like a blade. We need to end this, Lucas said, staring at the video of Daniel bribing Maya. She's not walking away. Clara nodded, turning to Jessa. Can you trace her? Jessa cracked her knuckles. Already on it. She's holed up in a luxury condo downtown. Daniel's gift, I bet. Maya's penthouse was all glass and arrogance, overlooking the city she tried to manipulate. Clara and Lucas stood at her door, adrenaline sharpening their resolve. Maya answered, smirking. Here to beg. Here to negotiate, Clara said, holding up a USB drive. Footage of Daniel confessing to framing you for his drug deals. The cops would love this. Maya's smile faltered. You're bluffing. Lucas stepped forward. Try us. Release the video and we'll bury you with him. For the first time, fear flickered in Maya's eyes. She hesitated, then tossed her phone onto the couch. Fine. Delete it yourself. Clara grabbed the phone, hands steady as she erased every file. Jess's voice crackled through her earpiece. Backups are purged. She's clean. Maya crossed her arms. Happy? No, Clara said coldly. But you're not worth the prison time. 2 weeks later, Clara stood in a sunlit loft, her new studio. Boxes of her salvaged photography gear lay unpacked, and the walls were bare except for one framed shot. Lucas, blurred and defiant, taken during the storm. He leaned in the doorway, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. Heading to Berlin. Art residency. Clara smiled, bittersweet. You'll kill it. Lucas hesitated. Come with me. She shook her head. I need to rebuild me first. But stay in touch. He kissed her cheek, lingering just enough to spark a memory. Always. Daniel's trial dominated the news. Disgraced lawyer sentenced to 15 years. The headlines blared. Clara watched the verdict on a tiny cafe TV, her coffee cooling beside her. Her phone buzzed, a gallery owner's email. Your Hartley Exposed series is revolutionary. Let's exhibit it. Clara closed her eyes, the weight of the past months dissolving. She typed a reply. I'll be there. The gallery opening buzzed with critics and flashing cameras. Clara's photos lined the walls, gritty, unflinching, alive. In one corner, a self-portrait hung. Her reflection in a shattered camera lens, light pouring through the cracks. A reporter asked, "What's next?" Clara glanced at Lucas's latest text. A photo of his Berlin studio, chaotic and bright. She smiled. Freedom. And that's it for today's story. I'd love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below and share your feelings. Did you relate to any of the characters? Or if you were in their shoes, what decisions would you make? I'd love to hear from all of you. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And if you didn't, hit one. Subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.